There is an uncertain comfort in the darkness. The reflective image of the unknown is full and empty in the same moment, providing blissful sleep for the dreaming yet panic for the awake. The man stares out into the empty void in front of him. They are down there somewhere. Everyone he had ever known, loved, and lost is in the abyss. The responsibility to act is a burden felt by most, but a few dare to accept it. Having decided to act, Commander Victor Gray, isolated without everything he holds dear, slowly drifts towards a newly discovered planet. Tormented by inner demons he thinks he left at home, Victor seeks to stop a new force that threatens to disrupt the balance of his world. Struggling to fill the void, Victor leaves behind his wife Elizabeth and daughter Allie Gray. They must now attempt to mend their lives and carry on, learning to cope with the wounds that will never heal. Interlope. Written by Kyle Meeker. Narrated by Andrew Falk. All right, ladies, gentlemen, writers, and readers. Welcome back. I know I did one of these not too long ago, like maybe a couple months, like a month or two ago, for a short book. Yeah, that writer was not happy. And so before I get into this, I just want to start by saying that I think I need to stress, and I don't know how many of these I'm going to do, where I'm going to give you this little introduction before I begin the review. But I feel like this needs to be said so you guys know how my scoring system kind of works, okay? When I started, I tried to have this whole complicated mathematical system, and it kind of worked, but over time, it kind of shifted. So, when I rate each individual section, on my opinion, first off, this is just my opinion on what I thought of it. Don't take this as gospel. If you are a writer and I'm reviewing your work, maybe your stuff just didn't hit a chord with me, okay? That doesn't mean every other reader out there is not going to enjoy something you wrote. It just means I liked or didn't like what you wrote. I really try to really base my decisions in the 5 different categories on being very thorough and technical. Now, it's a 1 out of 5 score. Basically what that means, if it's a 1, I thought it was very bad. I don't know what the reason could be, if it was just not put together good enough, if it was just bad decision making, if it could have used more edits or something, whatever the case may be. I noticed a lot of errors or a lot of propaganda, maybe, could be a thing. Like, if your stuff is woke, and I feel like it's woke, being that I'm not woke, I'm probably going to give it a low score if I feel like you're just trying to push an agenda. So, for example, if you have a story that's full of trans people and trans rights and all that stuff, pushing different pronouns, I'm probably not going to be into that because I don't believe in that stuff. Hate me if you will, but, I'm not into that. I don't believe any of that. I have very solid beliefs. If it's not edited properly, and I notice a ton of errors, okay, I'm going to probably say something. So that's what 1 means. 1 means it was so bad I noticed a ton of errors. Moving on. 2, basically kind of the same, maybe not as heavy. There was a book series that I was kind of reviewing, and I stopped reviewing them. Basically because of the fact, A, the story just was not gelling with me properly, and I did feel it was kind of woke, and I was done with it. Like, I didn't want to finish it. I did the first 2 or 3 books. I think I reviewed the first 2 on this channel, and I was most of the way through the 3rd, and it just got to a point where, like, you know what, I don't even have an interest in continuing on with this. And I don't want to actually, I don't care enough to go back and try to finish that book because I was so disinterested. A 3 would 3 stars means it was okay. That does not necessarily mean that I found problems with it. Maybe it's just too generic. If there's a lot of something, let's look at book covers, for example. If there's a book cover design or something that you used for your book that is used on so many other books, and the title just is very blah, it could bring it down to a 3 in that category, because it's like, okay, you've used something that everyone else has been using, so there wasn't a lot of creativity put into it. Same thing for story. If your story is basically a rehash of, let's say, Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey, I mean, honestly, I probably would, if I had actually been interested in it, and I had actually read the Twilight books, and then I kind of read the 50 Shades of Grey books, and then found out that 50 Shades of Grey started off as Twilight fan fiction, I would have probably given 50 Shades of Grey a 3 on the writing because it wasn't very original. It was just something else that they turned into a different kind of story. I actually was trying to explain what 50 Shades of Grey was about, and a buddy of mine, he's like, that sounds like Twilight. I said, well, it's funny you bring that up because it's supposed to be Twilight fan fiction, from what I've heard. So, 4 is I enjoyed it pretty well. It might not be perfect. I've seen better stuff out there. I've read better stories. And a few tweaks could probably get it there. But what I listened to or what I saw for the title or the cover or the narrator or the book, whatever, a 4 is basically, it just didn't quite get to a 5. It's good, but it's not great. Okay? And then obviously a 5 is, this is great. I loved it. I want to see it again or listen to it again. I love the colors and thought and creativity going into the writing or into the book cover or the title, perfect. I've actually had some books in this channel that I've reviewed where I have given 5s, many times. And, like some of the best is like A.C. Mossy Cat, her books, the cyber books. I love them. I actually hope she keeps asking me to review future installments of that series, and anything she writes is probably going to be something I'm interested in listening to. So if she wants me to do that, I will. But same thing for some of the other authors I've done book reviews for. So that covers 1 through 5 on the main individual sections. Now, the book as a whole. I used to take the star system, add up the numbers, do some crazy, wacky math stuff to bring it up to 100, then cut it back down to 10 to make it an easy, 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, But I ended up changing that a long while back, and now it's kind of, how do I look at all those 5 categories as a whole? Myself. Not with the scores, but myself. How do I judge the whole book? And especially if that book is a part of a series. If it's part of a series, and let's say the first book gets 10 out of 10, and the second book gets a 7 out of 10, and the third book gets a 10 out of 10, then I'm going to look at the fourth book, and I'm going to be like, okay, well, the first one was really good. The second one dipped down a little bit, but then the third one brought it back. How well does this fit in? Is this the last book of the series? Is book 4 going to be the final one? How do I judge it with all of that? Usually when you have a series, you got to take that into account too. So, I also judge books with a little bit more scrutiny when I'm judging the book as a whole. That's why it's a 1 out of 10. And basically, you could kind of say the same thing goes for that. I've said this when I've done movie reviews with my daughter. 1 is basically, it was such garbage. In my opinion, it was garbage, and I couldn't finish it. Either it was too disgusting, either it was very poorly written. I actually had a book offered to me to review once, and the writing was really bad. Things were sped really fast paced. And it was just horrid. And the person that was asking me to do the review had a notation in their book which left me concerned. And I said, hey, look, I'm sorry that I picked up. I told him in a very nice and generous way, look, I don't think you want me to review this. It's going to get a bad score, and I don't want to put that out publicly. If they persist, if I have that happen, I will generally be like, yeah, I can't finish this. I'm sorry. Do you still want me to review it? Because it's not going to do well. And I'll let them quietly slink off with their, book, and hopefully, I see that every writer has potential. Every writer has the potential to do something great and tell a good story whether that be they need to get it proofread again or something. I'm not one of these cruel, mean writers that says, okay, you got one chance to wow me, so you better do it. We all make mistakes. We all don't have the same resources that everyone else has. That's kind of why I started doing this, so I could help out other writers. And I wish people would leave comments so I could have topics that you guys want to hear. If that's the case, always, hey, I implore you, if there's something you're struggling with and you want some advice, if you want me to make a video to help you with your writing, please leave me a comment down below. I am not perfect. I am not a know-it-all, but maybe I can come up with something that helps you out. So moving on. Like I said, any one or two is probably meaning I didn't even finish it, or I really struggled to finish it. That would be leading into a 3 for me. A 3 is, I really had to push myself to finish this. Like I was saying, with that book series I was listening to, there's like 7 books in the series the guy wanted me to review. I made it through the first 2 out of order, and I was finally had them all, and I was going in order. So then I was started on book 3, and yeah, I couldn't finish it. It just got so bad for me. But eventually, with the first 2 books, I did finish those. Even though in the second book, I was kind of feeling like, I don't know if I want to finish this. But I finished it anyway. I forced myself through it. And I even forced myself to hurry up and start the next one because I thought, hey, maybe it'll get better now. Nope, didn't. Which is why I never did a review. And typically, if the score is going to be a 1 or a 2, I won't even finish it. Now, I will tell you this. I will never give a 0. Never, ever, ever, ever. Unless it is the worst book I have ever freaking read. I will never give a 0. Typically, the lowest I try to go is a 5. Unless I feel like, I need some variety. I need to point out some bad books. But generally, I don't like to do that, and I give people a chance. A 4 is, I finished it, I just didn't like it. I don't know if it was just the story or what. But yeah, that's typically a 4. A 5 is, it was okay. I've heard better. I've definitely heard worse. But it was okay. I at least could finish it. 6 is, it was a little above okay. But I'm probably never going to listen to it again. Probably have no interest to hear it anymore. 7 and 8 are probably, it was pretty good. I liked it. Some variation of pretty good. Just depends on, like I said, is it part of a series? How well was the cover? What did this remind me of? That's typically where a 7 and 8 fall. 9 is, I really liked it, and I want to listen to it again when I have the time, or when the author makes a sequel. But if they're not making a sequel, I probably will be a very long time before I listen to it again. Like, I'd have to be really bored. But a 10 is like, I'm waiting for an author to do more of this, but I just can't wait. I gotta hear it again. Probably like how I am with the Harry Potter books. Pretty much a lot of Stephen King books. Animosity Cat's books. Her cybersecurity books. The Chronicles of Chaos series, my own books, self-plug there. Yeah, those are the books I want to hear again, and I'm like, okay, I really enjoyed them, and I can't wait. So that's how I score. The final score is not a add up of all the individual sections. It is a overall score of what I thought of your book, or what I thought of the book, in case you're not a writer and you're a reader. Writers, a quick message. First off, if this is your first time finding my channel, then please consider subscribing and shoot me an email. My email address, if you are interested in getting your book reviewed, I will be willing to hear any audiobook. Now, I have writers asking me, why audiobooks? Why can I only review audiobooks? Couple reasons. First off, not many people are doing it. Most of the time, anybody reviews a book online, they sit down, they either read the ebook or they read the physical books. I am a single parent. I am a single father. I have a job. And I have my writing. And I want to relax. So I do not have the time to sit and just focus on one thing at a time. Even when I'm watching TV, I am doing other things. The only time I stop doing other things is when I'm focusing on my writing. Or focusing on, well, even when I'm focusing on YouTube, I'm still watching something in the background. So I can't really get a lot of time to relax. Even when I'm playing video games, I'm watching something on YouTube. Or doing something else. It all depends on what I'm playing, what's going on the game, etc. So, I am willing to listen to more audiobooks. I took a year off. Back in 2023, I took the whole year off. And I sort of fell out of it. And I am getting that feeling like I need to get back into it. I have been working, like I said in my other videos. If you've been a subscriber of this channel or you've watched many of my other videos, you'll hear periodically that I am still working on book 6 for my series, The Guardian of Light. I'm hoping to get it out before Christmas, but I have to focus on it. And I am very close to the end, so I'm very excited. Even though I still got a lot of things I want to do. So, writers, if you want me to review your audiobook, again, look down in the description for my email and let me know. And I will let you know what I'm going to ask of you. I can tell you this, it will not cost you any money. If you are a reader and you want a free audiobook, let me know. I am always willing to share an audiobook with a reader who wants, if you are, extra points if you're actually a reviewer. If you're a reviewer, great. Reach out to me and I will give you an audiobook for the Guardian of Light book series. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into this review now, because I feel like I've wasted a lot of time. But, I mean, now we know the score, and you know what is going to happen. So, okay, so, typically, I generally like to start out with the cover and title. However, I feel it prudent for this specific review, I'm going to start with the story. And starting with the story, I have to give this book a 4 stars. I'm giving it 4 stars. The reason why is I did enjoy it. I was a little confused when the book very first started, like for the first chapter or two. And it wasn't until like chapter 3 or chapter 4 when it started focusing. And the story was becoming coherent. Like, I had no idea what exactly was going on, because it just started with things happening. And I get that that can work for some stories, for some people. That just didn't work for me, because now I feel like I have to go back, re-listen to the first few chapters, knowing what I know now that I didn't know then. And there won't be spoilers, but basically, there's these earthquakes, and they're being caused by these mysterious orbs which showed up out of nowhere. And this team of scientists, they have to figure out a way to get these orbs back where they're from. And I feel like that was all well and good. But the ending, for me, was just a tad complicated. And like I said, this can work for some, but there were some things that were happening that I was like, wait, what? Wait, how? And I mean, it does kind of get answered by the epilogue, but even that leaves open questions of like, okay, wait, what? And the whole thing that we're kind of building to throughout the entire story just kind of felt underwhelmed by the end. I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy it, because I did enjoy it, and I did like it. It was just kind of very, like I said, very confusing and underwhelming, because we're promised this payout. We're promised this end goal that doesn't get delivered to us. And we get something else instead, completely different. Like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. It's like if you thought you were going to get home and somebody told you that they order pizza, the pizza's on its way, and you get home and it's a turkey Thanksgiving style dinner. It's still good, it's still delicious, but it wasn't the pizza you were promised. It wasn't what you built up in your head all this time. And for some stories, that can work. But for this particular story, it kind of felt like a drawback, because it was still somewhat of a satisfying ending, but it wasn't quite the ending I was hoping for, that the story had been building up. And it still makes no sense on certain levels, like, so, how do I put this? Like the orbs, okay? The biggest question for me is, okay, wait a minute, hold up. If this ending is what it is, and the writer, I know he's listening, where did they come from? With your ending the way it was, where did the orbs come from? Because where you say they came from doesn't make any sense due to the fact of what the ending is. I hope I put that as vaguely as possible so I don't spoil this guy's ending, because I don't want to do that. So if he wants to reach out to me personally and let me know, or if a reader wants to point out where these orbs came from, great. But it just didn't make sense on that level. And that's just like some of the issues I had with the ending. And like I said, it's not that it's a very bad ending. It was, like I said, enjoyable. I enjoyed it. It wasn't what I was promised, but I still enjoyed it. So now moving on to the cover and title. The cover itself is great. A little bit bland with the color scheme. I don't know exactly what this guy could have done if there was any other options available. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad cover. It's not great. So, for the cover and title, I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's okay. It's good. I think what it needed was maybe some more color, because this doesn't really stand out. And I think maybe if it also had a better title. The word interlope, I don't think is used at all. I could be mistaken. But I don't think it's used at all throughout the entire book. If it is, it's very few times. And I get what the word interlope means. But yeah, maybe if the word interlope had like some celestial, like galactic, starry purple and blues and reds on it, that would have pulled away from the background and made the words stand out a bit more. But I do like that it sort of blends the starry sky with this astronaut and this field. And the field is mentioned in the book, so I mean, I get the feeling from the cover, but it's just the brownish, yellowish color leaves it feeling a little bland in my case. Where their name is, that's fine. But the word interlope, I just feel like there was maybe more or something else they could have done for the title that would have popped more. I just don't feel like this really pops. So, moving on to the narration. For the narration, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The narrator did a really good job. I've heard better. And he, wasn't bad. So, I think a 4 stars is really good here. It didn't ever make me like drive me away. I think the part that brought it down that could have been better was like sometimes the voice work I did enjoy how he attempted to do voices, but many of the voices just came off very similar to the narrator's own voice. And, I mean, there were a few times, like a couple times, like when he's doing a little child's voice, he actually did manage to make his voice go up high enough to make it sound like a child. But there wasn't a lot of variety. And like I said, I've heard better people do better voices. So, moving on to the writing. Now, for the writing, I am going to give this 5 stars. The writing in this book, regardless of what I've said, was amazing. It was great. It was wonderful. I think the author did an exceptional job. The entire story. Well, first off, the story itself, the way it was written, I've never seen this movie. I've only ever heard people talk about this movie. I think I've seen a little bit of it myself. I stopped watching it because the audio quality, for some reason, when I was watching it, was extremely low. But the actual story was giving me this feeling of like Interstellar. So the writer has some of this like Christopher Nolan kind of writing, but at the same time, he also has a lot of Stephen King too. And anyone who knows my views on writing and what I like, I'm a big Stephen King fan. And the way this guy will talk about different locations and bring in real world places, especially like somewhere in North Dakota where I'm currently living, it's nostalgic because when he talks about the weather conditions in North Dakota, I can get behind it because I've lived in those conditions. I've never lived in Minot, but I think I don't even know if I've ever even passed through Minot. And just the way he talks about things, the cars, and the whole town, and even when they're talking about, like, when he's talking about science stuff, I'm not a scientist. I don't know any of this. But he describes it in a way that makes me go, hey, that sounds possible. So, that's why I say he gets a 5 here. It is really good writing. And he should be really proud of that fact. So, and it was creative, like I said. You know, there was a lot of creativity. But, yeah. Moving on to the last topic, characters. And for the characters, I have to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, the characters originally, they were on a very high path of going to getting 5 stars altogether. I almost was going to give them 5 stars altogether. Until the end. Until I got to the end. Now, for some reason, a lot of people think that Stephen King keeps messing up at the end with his endings. And I think this guy might be on a similar track. Because I was loving it. You know, once I got past those first 2 chapters, I was loving it. I was connecting with the characters. But then the characters... I'm trying to think of how to say this without spoiling. Basically, the characters said, let's make this bad decision in front of this thing that can kill us. And they talk about it openly. And one of them attacks several of the others. And the thing kills them, or kills that person. And then immediately they're like, okay, well, let's keep talking about not doing what we're supposed to do in front of this thing that could kill us. It's like, are you people retarded? You just watched this thing kill the person in charge who wanted to stop doing what they were supposed to be doing. And then your immediate thing is to openly talk about not doing the thing that you were supposed to be doing in front of the thing that can obviously kill you. They didn't bother to go to a place where maybe this thing didn't hear and get overheard anyway. They didn't even try to fake that they were maybe going to play along until they could think of something. They didn't even try to talk in any kind of code that maybe this thing wouldn't understand. Nope, just, oh, okay, well, he's gone, so, yeah, let's do what he was going to do, but we'll just not fight about it. And I thought, oh my god, that's so stupid. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, as it's playing out, like, yeah, this thing's going to kill him. This thing's going to kill him. And sure enough, this thing went and killed him. So, if you do read the book, and that's a spoiler, I'm sorry. I did my best not to say, but I think that was really bad decision making. And then, like, some of it towards the end also was a little cliche. Like, this one character becomes an alcoholic, and, oh, I need to get help. You know, that's been done like a million times before. And also, like, just, like, things with the characters, and this plays into the ending of the story, too. It kind of brought it down for me. So, like I said, characters, I think, deserve a good 4 out of 5. They were doing really well. They were really close to getting a 5, but just that ending really brought it down. Alright. So, I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I will give you guys my final score and thoughts, and we'll finish up this video. See you in a little bit.
For thousands of years, the world has been protected by the Guardian of Light, or as he is more commonly known, Santa Claus. Over the centuries, factors such as fear and prejudice, greed and jealousy, misunderstandings, betrayal and war have segregated most humans from the magical world of elves, fairies, wizards, and the like. This has resulted in many misconceptions and generalizations of the true nature of Santa and his world.
This 6-book series by Sean Connaughton begins as the current of a long series of guardians is murdered by a group of monstrous enemies recently escaped from an enchanted South Pole prison. These creatures are loyal to the darkness, an evil force determined to exterminate the light in order to enslave all creatures of the world.
Shane Connor, an average young man, suddenly finds himself being trained as the new guardian. As he adapts to his new life among fantastic creatures, he goes on an adventurous quest with a legendary wizard for the ultimate weapon to use against the darkness, and faces murderous enemies like Rasputin, Morgana Le Fay, Krampus, and many more.
Along with his best friend, Joe Gomez, Shane encounters politics, history, mysterious murders, new loves, his own hidden past, and racial dynamics among the fantasy races that turn out to be all too real. Their adventures reveal the true nature of the world and challenge the current state of how all races interact.
This series expertly melds myths, legends, history, faiths, folklore, and secret societies into a fascinating, cohesive, comprehensive world of wonder and magic.
From Atlantis to Olympus, from Hades to the moon, and from broomstick races to Christmas deadlines, join the new Santa Claus on his amazing journey. But beware, will Shane's quest achieve his ultimate goal of destroying the darkness and preserving the light of the world? Or is he actually playing right into a plot by dark forces that will result in his, and our, ultimate doom.
So make your list and check it twice for the Guardian of Light book series. Download your audiobook or ebook today from Audible, Amazon, or iTunes.
All right. Interlope. Written by Kyle Meeker. Narrated by Andrew Falk. I'm really debating on where I stand with this. I honestly think I gotta give this an 8 out of 10. Like I said, it was very good. It made me think of Interstellar, and the writing really made me think of Stephen King. This would be like if Stephen King wrote Interstellar, I'm thinking. Like I said, never finished watching Interstellar, only seen clips. I've kind of had it spoiled for me somehow. I mean, I've heard things, and my mind has just gone to like really weird places when people talk about the ending. Something about being under a bookshelf or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I have to say about this book. This book to me feels like if Stephen King had wrote Interstellar. And I think that's maybe kind of what the author was going for with the cover and title, but I'm not sure. But yeah. So, if you want to check out this book, it is available on Amazon and Audible. So, be sure to go pick it up if you like this kind of stuff. If you like Stephen King, you're going to like this book. If you liked Interstellar, you're probably going to like this book. If you are a writer and you want me to review, please let me know by sending me an email or a message on Facebook. And if you are a writer and you got a question that you want me to answer, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts. With that said, I will see you all in the next review. Bye.